My entitled family wants to take my house and give it to my brother, even though they kicked me out of their home because they had no space for me. I'm a single man in my early 30s. I've got a brother who's 29 and already has 4 kids. He had his first at 22. And they kept coming. His wife, my sister-in-law, and I do not get along. She likes to get a rise out of me by acting superior, then turns into a self-victimizing drama queen if I retaliate. She can cry on command and put on an extremely convincing show to get sympathy from anyone. My parents and brother absolutely adore her. She's good-looking, I'll give her that, but she's awful. She refuses to get any sort of job, even though she has a college degree. Their finances are entirely dependent on my brother, which means they can't afford to live anywhere but my parents' house. Growing up, my younger brother was the obvious favorite. He developed a superiority complex because I was badly punished if I retaliated against his antics. My parents moved us 150 miles away from other family, so they generally only saw us on holidays. That way, no one could call them out on the favoritism anymore. My brother got physically abusive, flirted relentlessly with my first girlfriend until she broke up with me, and laughed at any misfortune I had. My parents told me to suck it up. I only got equal treatment when other people were present. I moved out when I turned 18, even before finishing high school. I was low contact ever since. The 2020 pandemic hit me hard. Lost my job, couldn't renew my lease. I sold nearly all my stuff and bought a $1,000 camper to put on my truck. I asked my parents if I could park my camper at their house temporarily. They told me they had a full house and didn't want me there. They said they'd only let me park if I paid them basically apartment rent. My brother and his wife thought it was absolutely hilarious that I had to live in a camper. They pointed and mocked me, calling me a homeless bum. I lived in that camper for months. Store parking lots, streets, anywhere I could find. It was terrifying at first. I had to sneak extension cords to random outlets just to keep my batteries charged so my refrigerator would work. After months of this, I finally landed a new job. My boss actually let me park the camper in the back lot of the warehouse. I basically lived there, working every shift I could get. I was on call almost all the time. Eventually, I got promoted to supervisor and started making better money. That's when I decided I wanted a house. I found a 3-bedroom manufactured home and somehow got it for $10,000 less than asking price. Used nearly my entire savings for the down payment. Finally didn't have to live in a camper anymore. I put the camper in my backyard and was dumb enough to brag about my house on social media. A few weeks later, my parents and brother showed up completely unannounced with his entire family. I didn't even give them my address, so I wonder if they stalked me at work and followed me home. They practically shoved their way in like tourists, poking around everywhere. My parents kept talking about how I had so much extra space, and it's too much for someone with no wife or kids. My brother asked to speak privately. Everyone else suddenly left and piled onto the front porch. That's when I knew they'd planned something. My brother said the house was too much for me alone, and I should let him move in with his family. He pointed out that I already have the camper, so I could just live in that outside while they live in the main house. He never once mentioned paying rent. He started talking about changes, curfews, and that I couldn't just walk in without prior notice. He kept talking over me as if I had no say in the matter. I picked up my phone and started recording. Then I finally showed my backbone and said, "Hell no," loud enough that he stumbled backward. I told him my house was not up for grabs. I bought it for me, and it's not my fault he keeps having more kids. He got as close to me as he could without touching and said I didn't deserve the house and he needed a better place for his family. I laughed in his face and said that was total bullshit. I worked hard for my house. That's when my parents and sister-in-law barged back in and surrounded me, trying to force me to agree. I heard, "Just do it for Dan," more times than I can count. I told them they don't have a say in my life or my house and to get out before I called the cops. My sister-in-law screamed about how she was pregnant again and I can't do this to her. I called her a stuck-up bitch who never had any respect for me. She attacked me, got in one good hit on my face and tried to do more, but my brother held her back. She kept demanding he let her go so she could scratch my eyes out. My phone recorded everything. I told them I'd call police if they didn't leave. My mother said I had a week to come to my senses. I immediately went to social media and told the story to the whole family before they could twist it. I had video evidence. Being preemptive worked. I got family members on my side right away. The week went by and my parents showed up with Dan just like they said they would. I opened the door just a crack with latch chains preventing them from shoving in. My mother, in her sickly sweet tone, asked if I was ready to let my brother move in. I told them to fuck off and never come back. The next week, I came home to find a moving truck and my brother's minivan in my driveway. They were moving stuff in. My sister-in-law smugly said that my mommy allowed it, and I should always listen to what my mommy tells me. I locked myself in my truck and called the cops immediately. She started pounding on my window, yelling that I can't do this to her. When police arrived, my brother and sister-in-law had locked themselves in my house. I showed the cops my driver's license with my current address. They'd drilled out my front door lock. The old lock and drill were laying right on the porch. Could they have been any more stupid leaving evidence like that? My parents showed up and immediately lied, saying I'd agreed to rent my house to my brother. But Dan and his wife came out with fake rental papers. My signature wasn't even close to my actual handwriting. I told them that was blatant fraud, and if cops investigated, they'd figure it out easily. I'd also call CPS for good measure. Dan went white. I said I wanted them all out right now, or I'd press charges. I stated about how they drilled out my lock. The lease papers were obvious fakes. They forged my signature, and I have video of my sister-in-law attacking me. The only reason I hadn't already pressed charges was for the sake of the kids. My mother finally surrendered. Dan had to start loading their stuff back into the moving truck. All the kids were crying. They tried one last guilt trip, all gathered in a group hug with pleading looks. My sister-in-law rubbed her pregnant belly and tilted her head like a sad puppy. I didn't falter. I told them to keep packing. Dan asked, "Are you satisfied? You've denied us a home because you're too selfish to share." I laughed like a maniac and said what he was trying to do was taking, not sharing. He's no brother of mine anymore. Just an entitled prick who thinks he can take whatever he wants. As I headed for the door, my mother said I'd be disowned for this. I said, "Oh no, that means I won't get to come to holidays where I always get treated like shit anyway because Dan has always been your obvious favorite." My parents were floored. Fast forward. Turns out my sister-in-law's fourth baby wasn't even my brother's. She'd been having an affair. My brother divorced her after DNA tests proved it. She lost everything in the divorce. No alimony, partial custody, stuck working for her parents. My parents finally apologized after seeing animated videos of my Reddit posts online. They've been going to therapy and church now. My brother asked to borrow my camper so his eldest son could have his own room. I agreed, for the sake of the kids. They're all still living at my parents' house, and I'm in my own home, finally, at peace.